merch. Tico Chi. Fake game merch.
Hey guys, we're just gonna collect here, wait for everyone to get through the lock point, okay?
Flight deck, trash, as you can see.
Flight deck is the worst coaster in the world.
Yukon Striker is built by B&M, Bollinger and Marlborough out of Switzerland. That's where their design team is primarily fabricated and built is the trains. The track portion of it is actually built out of Cincinnati, Ohio, and it is trucked up here. We started this program back in 2017 in the fall when we first broke ground. It took us 2 years to put this project together with the magnitude of it all. The manufacture of this ride comes from Switzerland. That's where it's all designed. It's fabricated all over the world. They use Hungary for one of their suppliers. They use the States. The main track is trucked up from Cincinnati, like I was saying earlier. 168 truckloads come into the park. It's staged down in our staging room. Everything is recorded. All of our barcodes are recorded, so when the project begins, we know where all the elements are for the erecting portions of it. As far as that, our erecting crews are local companies that we hire within. They come out to the project and get started on it. We have a B&M representative that is here the entire time while the ride's being erected to make sure that every portion of the ride piece is put together and fabricated on site that needs to be adjusted accordingly, which again, these guys are the best builders in the world as far as I'm concerned. They do a really good job for us, and as you can see, the structure that came in here basically in January of this year, and this is what they put up. It's incredible to see it on the inside, just having watched it being done. For some of you that have not seen the ride before, we could take a quick little walk out to where our tunnel is, which is kind of a neat effect of the ride itself. So we have our lift, which is 75 meters high. It drops into a 90 feet straight down, and then it goes into the tunnel, which is going through the helix of the vortex track. So that was started back in 2017, in the late fall, when we started the excavation of that tunnel. Sections of vortex had to be disassembled track-wise, column-wise, and then relocated so that we could get the machinery in to start digging this hole, which accommodated 5 track elements of the ride itself, which we installed in-house ourselves. The tolerances for these manufacturers are within 2 millimeters of those track elements. So everything has to be spot on, because as you know, if you don't get the piece of puzzle in the first place, it just multiplies throughout the whole ride when they're erecting it. So it's very important to get the first piece in. And those were, believe it or not, the first pieces. The idea was that we wanted to have that done, finished up, and ready for operations for 2018. Vortex had to run again on schedule. And then, of course, we had to fill our pond and basically hide it from the public to wait for the big debut when it was announced that was coming in. So with that, again, we had caissons being drilled, concrete was being laid in the different element sections that were being staged for the erections when the ride itself started to show up on site. Any questions on that? All good? So again, this is a floorless coaster. There's 3 rows of 8 seats per train. We have 3 trains. Basically, they load up in the station. We have these combs, which we call it, which is a floor that drops out, which I'd like to take you around to show you the bottom section of the station to see these combs that we're talking about. So they'll fall out of the way when the train starts to move out of the station. And then we have the big swing gates, which is a big safety factor to make sure nobody falls forward. And then it proceeds to the lift, and it is driven up by a big SEW gearbox and drive system that takes you to the top. The incline's about a 45 degree. I'll tell you, it's quite the walk when you're doing it. It doesn't seem like much until you get going, and then that incline is quite steep. Riding wise, I hope you get to ride it today because it's a phenomenal ride. We actually have what we call a funicular car that's on the side of it. That's actually a little elevator for us that we take up in the morning to do our inspections on the entire lift section. At the very top of the lift, there's another drive system that's up there. The idea of this coaster is it takes you up to the top. You have a pause for about 3 seconds, one to contemplate what you're really doing up there, and you get to view the whole park as per se. And then, of course, it takes you into this drive system that actually holds you on a decline portion of the track, and then it slowly lets you release off the top of it as you're looking down into the tunnel of the center of the helix of vortex. Okay, so it is pretty cool. And then, of course, it goes through the track section, which is about 1,100 meters, 3,600 feet. And it goes through another open section, which we call the tunnel. I call it a ditch because it's an open, but it is a decline that goes into underground, but it's not enclosed. So our staff is just in the preliminary stages of getting the ride ready for the operations of the day. Our mechanics start here at 5 a.m. and we PM this ride thoroughly from one end to the other. It's done every day, the same as every other ride in the park. It's all PM'd and looked at long before the guests show up.
Tell me about the ride's operation in the rain like this.
As long as we don't get the lightning and the big storms, for a mild rain like this, we run no problem.
And does the ride run any differently?
No, generally not. In this case here, we have what we call eddy current braking, which is a non-friction device. It's magnetic braking is what it is. So there is no mechanical parts for the most part that slow the trains down. When we get into the mechanical side of the brakes, which would be on the main brake, they're more for a holding, so you'll actually hear them go into the brake shoes, which is the main beam of the train. I'm not sure if you can really see the train, but looking at it here, we have our main wheel carriers, we have the 2 road wheels, we have the 2 underneath, which we call upstop wheels, and then we have the 2 side wheels, which is just behind that piece of framed angle that's there. But on that, if you can see where the 1-2 is on that train, just below it there's these horizontal aluminum fins that hang down from the train, and they actually go through the eddy current brakes. So they create a force between 2 magnets, and that non-ferrous material generates a current in there, and that's what does the braking. And the braking, weather-wise, we get moved around with drive tires. There's a very heavy anti-skid material on the bottom of the trains, so there's a lot of friction between the drive tires and the chassis of the vehicles themselves. These big frames with the wheels on them, we call them either a wheel carrier or a bogie. We refer to that as well. And a lot of similarities. Behemoth and Leviathan are the same builder, and they're so similar, they're all the same. They found something that really worked for them, and they don't make a lot of changes, and it works. So it's very efficient that way. So I'm just going to ask you to follow me out this way, and there's a door out the back, if that's okay.
Okay. Dispatch, elbow hands on.
Holy shit.
Wait, it's all safe to ride in the rain, right?
Yes.
It's all safe to ride in the rain, right?
Absolutely. Who's riding it today here? So this is our storage track where we keep our trains at the end of every night. They're parked in here. The beauty of this area is we can get right underneath the trains and do our visual inspection. Everything is taken care of maintenance-wise in this for the trains done here. And the top sections are always done in the station because we have the combs to get in to walk through the trains themselves. So we'll just take a quick walk down to the lift itself, and I'll explain to you what that is.
Daniel, put your foot up. The plastic lid. Put your plastic lid.
This is our funicular car, we call it. It's driven by that diesel generator at the end for maintenance purposes. It takes us up to the top of the lift. We can go for an inspection, do our thing, and we don't have to do the climb because, like I said, it's quite a climb.
What's happening there? Like the train was there just for like
what they're doing
a
is
while.
they're opening procedures, so they're doing their setups. Okay. What they do is the system's checking to make sure where all the trains are. It's all
See, Yukon's doing it too right now.
So if it stops,
yeah, they're stopped.
and then where the other one is.
Right.
Look, Yukon's doing it as well right
Opening
now.
procedures.
It's always freaked me out when I see that.
Yeah, well, that's part
I'm like,
of the
oh no, are they stuck?
Not at this point. There's nobody on it.
And is it also so they can test when they run trains and they stop them over the top to make sure the emergency brakes work and stuff?
Exactly. So the whole system's being checked right now. That's part of the procedures for our opening group that the operations does. Yeah. And then the system's all checked to make sure it all functions properly. So there's a redundant system. Everything is backed up, but everything has to be checked.
And we all appreciate that very much.
And they do a lot in the springtime when they're doing the initial on the new rides. That everything is tested with loads, like water mannequins are loaded in the train.
Right.
And this
I heard
thing
about
goes
the dummy testing.
Yeah, it goes through a very extensive testing before anybody's on it. Again, these have been built before. They're not the newest out there, so they have them and they just make them better and better and better.
Oh no, it's just
take a quick scoot around the other side. I'll show you what drives this to the top.
they're the water dummies.
Okay, let's follow him, guys. Follow him.
So this is basically the gearbox and the drive system that actually drives this lift chain to the top. So it's a continuous chain that goes with like your bicycle, and it just keeps taking the trains to the top and does its thing all day long and purrs like a kitten. But as soon as that train comes around, it picks up on the chain on the train, and that takes it to the top. When it gets to the top, it triggers another dog that comes down that takes the chain for when you're going down the hill. So it's holding you up there. So it's a mechanism that's reversed because the chain wants to release you to the top.
Fascinating.
So that's how it works.
And after the water dummies got tested, who was the first that got to try it?
I would imagine
some of the park engineers? Or?
I would think somebody a little bit higher, yeah. Probably our GM. No, our GM would be there. Our maintenance and design team. Would be our director of maintenance that's been very involved with this as well. They all got to go through the ride. No, actually, I wasn't at the time, but I've been involved that close with Behemoth. I've had Behemoth for 11 years now. So we'll take the walk back and we'll go have a quick look at the combs if you like, and then we'll go to the tunnel. It's pretty cool. And you just grow with whatever's around you. So basically, I covered most of the welding, fabricating that was on site, and then the mill writing sort of was part of it. Branched over.
Oh, what a puddle!
Whoa. Everybody gets some water, just come on in. Just remember, we're operating now, so this is all kind of moving in and out and going up and down.
This is amazing.
Come on in.
It'll be on YouTube.
So what we're looking at here is because it's a floorless, every time the train comes into the station, these holes we call them go up, you fit into place, and then it allows you to get in and off the train. So what we have is these are the control panels that control all the pneumatic cylinders and the valve work that makes these pumps go up and down. If you look at, you know where you're looking, there's lots of sensors on it, so it always has to see the sensors to make sure, and the computer is always checking to make sure those functions are happening. So it's kind of hard to see if you want to just look in between, but as you can see, they're just finishing up their opening procedures.
Somebody who is terrified of roller coasters. This is so like I'm never gonna. Oh really? Yeah. My son is like obsessed with them, but me.
Is he involved in the coaster club?
He's the Canadian representative of Coaster Kids.
Oh,
they're an American group stationed in Ohio, and he's the Canadian representative.
Does he know you? That wouldn't be fair. Okay, so any questions on this? Okay, so this is where our pneumatic control valves are for the gate. All happens, it's all interlocked. Okay, so I'm going to ask you to come back out, we'll go over and take a quick walk over where the tunnel is if you'd like to see the last tunnel.
Stop button. If I press it, I can stop.
So I'll just get you to walk back towards the front of the ride, please. Oh, sorry.
Wait, are we riding now?
Whoa. Walk's good. I think we're just going to scoot through here.
Awesome, thank you for this.
Wait, people are riding it.
Yeah, this is the whole park.
Wait, so then we're gonna have to wait in line, right?
This is attention. Tyler. Jesus, what is wrong with these people? That's pretty cool. Was that awesome? We're not done, but was that?
That was very cool.
Good?
Very.
Cool, Mark? Was that sick? Mark, how bad did you want to press that button?
Very bad. 49 minutes to ride time.